At what point can I do a citizen's arrest then?
I'd keep the handcuffs at home, Mark, for this one. It's always great when you get on a plane and there's a massive stag do coming right behind you in it.
I prefer that group of one-armed golfers again. Knew where you are with them, don't you?
Yeah, well, that was a fantastic flight, that one, wasn't it? That's a podcast for the future, that one, isn't it?
What, our 24 hours in hell?
Us. Banged Up Abroad, your film. Hello, and welcome to the latest podcast. It's been a long time. It's been a long old time since we did one.
I don't remember last time I did one.
The last one we had a guest on, didn't we? Who was talking to...
Big Rich.
Yeah, Rich McCool. Yeah, so that was when it was still, during the daytime.
He's retired now, isn't he? It was so long ago.
Yeah, I think he's done. Yeah, he's living he's got his own island now, and now we're in the months where the sun doesn't come up during the days anymore,
which is 9 out of 12 in this country.
So the podcast today is about YouTube auditors and drone pilots. So this pod is based on an article that I wrote a few weeks ago, which it's been quite interesting getting the reaction from it, because a lot of people straight away don't know what I'm talking about. A lot of people immediately go, yeah, know exactly what you're talking about, watch those all the time. So it's just a little bit of information about what a YouTube auditor is, potentially why they're so popular on YouTube and TikTok and Insta and all the social platforms, and potentially a bit of advice as well if you ever come across one in the real world, of how to deal with them appropriately.
It's popular on TikTok.
Oh yeah, well, they use TikTok I think mainly to kind of push people towards their channels.
It's by definition it's kind of a longer form video. Isn't it?
Well, I know for a fact you've watched some, so you'll know that it's quite a clippable thing. There's always a hot part of the video that can be clipped and would be perfect for TikTok and Insta.
I also know
stories
it's strange to watch them because I feel both excited and angry at the same time.
Well, yeah, it's a very... I also feel very conflicted emotionally when I watch them as well. But I think it'll be interesting because I know Mark... We've deliberately told Mark not to research this one. Just to cover Mark's arse immediately. So, Mark...
Yes, Kev?
I'll give you a scenario and you tell me what your reaction will be.
Okay.
So let's assume that your film have an office building where it's just us in the building, belongs to us, and it's fenced off. One of those nice big British fences, with the daggers at the top. The ones that really say daggers. The ones that really say don't come in. And you happen to look out of the window one day and you see a man wearing a face mask and he's pointing a camera in through the fence.
Are we talking full face mask or COVID face mask?
More of your balaclavery, think like 1980s burglar kind of mask.
Oh yeah, IRA man, if you will.
Yeah, so just basically just the eyes, so you wouldn't be able to recognise them if you saw them again. So they point a camera at the building. What would be your reaction to that, do you think?
I want to know what they was doing, why they was doing it. And
how would you do that? How would you find that out?
You'd say,
that'd be my initial
You'd say, Kerry, there's someone filming this building. Will you go?
Can you see him? Yeah, just come on there. No, I'll watch.
I'll be here. I'll have dialed 99. I'll be ready. I'll be watching through the window.
Get him!
Well, I'll take a little mosey on down.
Yeah.
Have a chat with them. See what they was up to while they was there. Yeah, I want to know why.
So what would you say to them?
Why are you flying this drone here near my building?
I didn't say drone. At this point, they just point a camera at the building.
Oh, yeah. I see. Oh no, that changes it all, doesn't it? They're just looking suspicious, like they're staking the place out, looking for an entry point. They're going to yeah, I've gone to a bad place. They're going to rob this place. I want to.
Well,
Just out of interest, do you really think that someone was staking the building would come and stand in broad daylight and just film the building?
Well, no,
because
come on, let's not judge.
I know someone that's had their house robbed by people in high vis, and they've just walked in during the day, and they've just gone into stuff, and no one's stopped them. So that was in broad daylight.
Yeah,
so
but that's like a good scam, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like it's like that's opportunist. I'm asking the question now only because he's literally just said, "Oh, I've just jumped like the worst possible thing." But like, yeah.
But that is what 99% of that. What you've just described is pretty much 99% of the reaction of people that see this happening. So you go and approach this person, and you say, "What are you doing?" And they say, "I'm just gonna, play act here." What the kind of, again, 99% of the way these things go. My response to you is going to be, "I'm filming the building."
Oh. Why is that then?
None of your business.
I was going to say, you could technically, your first response could have been none of your business.
In fact, actually, to be fair, I think most of the auditors I see are generally, to begin with, whilst things are neutral, polite. So the polite response would usually be, "I'm just taking an interest in the building. I'm just filming the building, just for my reasons." And by the way, I'm still filming the whole time, yeah. So where you go next, Mark?
Well, I suppose because I'm in this industry, anyone can go out and take a photograph of any building, and they're right to do so. So we go out filming. So probably my next response would be slightly different to the public's response, because they're obviously trying to get some reaction back because they're filming it because they want to put it on social and then get followers and reactions from that. So I would probably leave them to it, but keep an eye on them.
Well, he's swatted up on this, hasn't he?
Well, I'm just thinking it's interesting because why would that not? You've just said because you're in the industry. Why would that not? When you see them at the window in the first place, why even bother engaging from the industry?
Because you wanted me to have this some kind of route into this conversation.
Yeah, I wanted you to pick up a baseball bat on your way out.
Yeah, I know what you wanted. Just keep the car going and then reverse. Yeah, that type of thing. Yeah, sorted, job done, and a nice camera.
Well, in your actions there, Mark, well done.
Thank you.
You've done better than the 99% of people.
I think you read the article.
However,
I had been.
Based on your reaction, that video would not. They wouldn't even bother posting that one.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be worth it because you're right. It is. And I'm disregarding what they say here because the interaction, the argument, is the entertainment for the viewer.
Yeah.
As it is. Similar to why people watch shows like Big Brother and stuff. People want to see conflict and they want to see fighting and they want to see arguments and stuff. But and you've also touched on why it's a conflicting point for us doing what we do, which is we've had to deal with people approaching us when we're doing our job and we're filming out in public and have every right to do so, and we're doing everything legally and by the book. And there is something about a video camera that sends people loopy and gives them this weird entitlement to think if there was someone standing with a pneumatic drill or they were painting a fence using the tools of their trade, they would not approach them this way. But when it's a camera, they feel very comfortable coming over and say, "What are you doing?" So I say, well, I could be quite rude in this response really and ask you what's it got to do with you, and also you interrupted me doing my job. So yeah, we've had our fair share of experiences where people have incorrectly and unfairly approached us while we're doing the job and we'll do things like make up laws, make up, you need a permit, what permit they have got no idea what they're talking about, but they feel very comfortable in kind of talking to you about laws that don't exist and they don't have a clue about.
There's a slight tangent to this. It reminds me of the time that we were filming with a drone trying to get that shot of the Tyne Bridge. So we went down to the Sage, to the front entrance and set up there, and then he was launching it and putting it out across, and that's when we got told off from two of the local residents of Gateshead who, the lass was down on the embankment trying to curl one off and was very upset that we were filming her.
You're breaking the law, filming in public. I'm trying to have a shit in a field here, mate.
Well, it was like that time for France. We turned up to film wearing high vis.
Mm-hmm.
We was allowed to be there, being cleared with the residents there.
Where was this?
It was one of the parks. One of France.
On Maguire's.
Maguire's. Oh, Maguire's,
right.
sorry. Turned up to film, high vis on, knew it was coming, set it up. Guy straight out, what are you doing? We're here filming. Why? It's for the park. Well, you've got your caravan. I don't know anything about it. doesn't really matter. We've got permission.
Yeah.
We've got permission. And so, well, he kicked up a fuss, and then you could hear the windows of the like, he's out, are they? Yeah. Is that reception? Yeah. There's someone out with a camera. Yeah. I'm not really happy about this. And I said, do you know what? It's fine. Like, I've been told to come here and do this. We've filmed what we need to do. This drone's going to come down. Stay away from it, and we'll go away.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll inform the people that we're here to do the job for that you've not let us do our job, and I'll just put that on you. So, and that was it. And apparently the residents got kind of a little bit of a ticking off. But yeah, it was kind of like they'd been informed. We knew they'd be informed, and they were just adamant that they just didn't want us there. They thought it was encroaching on their private space. So
just come back to Auditors for a minute. If there's one thing I can guarantee you is that they do know the law. They know what they're doing. They know what they're allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do. They know where they're allowed to be, and they know where they're not allowed to be. So you approaching them unarmed in that knowledge, you're going to be on film. Everything you say is being recorded when you engage with them. And this is why the non-engagement is by far the best tactic, because most people end up looking a bit like a prat because they're talking to someone who is going to run rings around them in terms of what the actual law is. And just because you don't like something doesn't mean you have any right to stop them doing that legal activity. And Matthew brought up private property and public property, and that's one of the keys to this, which is in the initial example I gave, this guy, yes, he's filming your building, but he's standing
public
on public property where he has every right to be. He has every right to point the camera. As people say, photography is not a crime, and you're allowed to film whatever the human eye can see. Now, you do get into a difference in the law when it comes to private property. So if they were doing the same at your house and they were looking over your fence into your windows, different problem.
Then there are case in the jack.
Categorically, I'm talking here about commercial premises.
Yeah.
And when you're in public, when you're in public, you have no reasonable right of privacy, so you have no right to ask anyone to stop filming. And particularly if you think about the psychology of approaching someone, so literally giving yourself a close-up on their camera, and then saying, "Don't film me."
But this is the grey area, and this is the bit to me that's both. I see both sides of it, and I have some sympathy for the people who end up on camera, because people come out and say you can't film this building on these videos we're talking about. You can't film this building. It's private, and obviously that as is proven, that's just not true. But then people come out and say, you need to delete the footage of me, or I don't want to be on camera, I don't care about such and such, I'm not giving you my consent to be on camera. And that's where it's well, okay, you might not actually legally have any issue there, but that's just a different thing. At least I understand that impulse for any individual to say, I don't want to be on camera. It's different because you've got the right to do it. But it's definitely, it's kind of a split thing, isn't it, with these videos? It's the difference between people who feel personally, for whatever reason, and some people might have legitimate reasons. I mean, we film stuff for legitimate reasons where we're told ahead of time you can't put that person on camera for safeguard reasons stuff. So you have got that element to it where you never know. Obviously, the net result is it tends to be quite funny because they say stuff that's funny, but like I do have some sympathy for them because just human to human, it's like I don't want to be on your film for whatever reason. I can understand why people feel very strongly that they have that right, even though legally they might not. I think that is a great.
Well, this is why I wanted to write the article, and this is why I wanted to do a podcast about it, because I also have sympathy for people that do that, because I agree with what Mark said at the beginning, which is if you're just approaching someone because they're acting suspiciously, that makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. Like I said, they are dressed like a 1980s cartoon burglar, and they're filming the place. And if you have valuable stuff on your site, then of course your mind's going to go straight to someone casing this place, and then they're going to come back tonight and bloody rob we're blind. So I'm going to go and do some fact finding. But this is kind of factored into what I'm talking about here, which is your approach can be completely neutral to them and boring enough so that they don't use it on their YouTube channel anyway. So you are not going to end up on YouTube if you approach them, and although you might end up on YouTube, but obviously it would have a very different spin on it. If you approach them, first of all, you can put a balaclava on if you want. You can create your own privacy in public by hiding your face. So if you want to do that, I know it doesn't come naturally to most people. It's a bit weird, but just putting that out there. If you
Kanye
them,
West does it. What's weird about it?
If you approach them and you're polite and civil and you're asking questions and they're just kind of giving you nothing back, obviously if you've listened to this, then you're armed with the knowledge of like, this is probably an auditor, so I kind of get what they're looking for. And basically say, yeah, well, look, as long as you stay on public property, then I can't stop you doing what you're doing. It's your right to do that. If you have a shared driveway or there's a shared access, so basically there's no barrier, there's no gate, the public can walk in, and unless you have signs up saying no public access, then there's a perceived right of public access, which you can revoke if you're talking to them. So you can say, right, your access is revoked, so you have to leave the shared common ground, and then they're back out on the perimeter. You have that right, so you can ask that. But again, I would just do it civilly and just have some common courtesy, I suppose. And yes, it is a bit weird if someone's got a camera in your face and they've got a body worn and stuff. You just have to think about the end product rather than what's actually happening right at that specific moment.
So if I was in witness protection, can I be filmed?
Well,
can I just go and say, no, you can't film me? Oh, why? Because
because I saw a murder.
Yeah.
Are you straight on YouTube live?
Yeah, because here's my real name and documents. Well, I'll answer your question with a question. Like, when you go and walk through any town centre or city centre, do you go to CCTV control and say, you can't film me, turn those cameras off or blur my face? It's a when you start to break it down, no one else can know what those reasons are. So if you are in public, you have no reasonable right of privacy. That's the law, and that's just common sense as well. Mm-hmm. So when you're out and about, you might want or not want to be on camera, but well, okay, here's a tip then. If you see someone filming, keep away from it. Don't approach them, keep away from it. Mm-hmm. They're not doing anything illegal, so you have no legal right to stop them. Okay. And this brings one to the next thing, which is,
when does it become illegal?
Well, people end up being defeated in the argument with the auditor, and the auditor will always say, I'm just going to keep filming because I know I'm allowed to, and I'm going to do what I need to do. And sometimes egos can be bruised, and people eventually, sometimes things can get physical and violent. You're definitely going on YouTube then, you're going to that's going to be kind of one of the most viewed ones probably. You definitely don't want to go down that route because you're probably going to end up getting sued as well. But no, most people, the last sort of recourse is to dial 999, get the police involved. That's not going to go well either. Mm-hmm. Now, it's a weird one, and I don't want to get into this too much, but I've seen quite a lot of these videos, and filming in public, everyone having a camera and their phone, it's still relatively new as a society to have that. And sometimes it takes a lot of things, time to catch up with the technology. Unfortunately, policing and the law, a lot of the police aren't familiar with the laws around someone filming in public and drone filming, which we'll get onto a little bit more. And quite often turn up and kind of try to move them on. And the auditor, again, knows the law, so will argue the toss with the police, and the police usually end up looking a bit silly because they seem quite confident that they know what they're talking about, but just don't, because that's obviously quite a niche thing still. So yeah, again, the police can't really help you. And generally the police just want, look, they called were, can you just leave to make everyone's lives easier? But the auditor's just going to dig their heels in even more.
Yeah.
So that's not really going to help you either. When does it become illegal? You just asked.
Yeah, when did I suppose it wouldn't become illegal from their point of view because they know the law. But
Well, that's not true. It would become illegal. Well, yeah, from their point of view, yeah.
From
but
if they're well-versed in
the
what
line
they're
of illegality in some of the videos is literally like 3 feet in it because they're like one side of a gateway versus the other. So yeah, they know what they're doing, but like in truthful terms, it's a very thin line, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a weird one because even trespass isn't a criminal offence. It's classed as a civil offence, so technically the police aren't actually able to help you with that. So even if an order said, well, I'm going to stand 5 feet in your private property and keep doing it, the police technically shouldn't be allowed to actually move them on from that. Be classed as a civil matter. Of course, in the real world, that's not what happens. And generally, the auditors just talk to the police. And again, you know, people have egos about these things and they don't want to be... I've heard a lot of auditors say, well, if you let us educate you, there's not many people that respond well to that out in public. It's like, oh, you're going to educate me, you know?
Yeah.
I'd rather stick you in handcuffs.
At what point can I do a citizen's arrest then?
In this context, I wouldn't. I'd keep the handcuffs at home, Mark, for this one. You'll just end up in more trouble. And to be fair, a lot of the auditors, they make... I think some of the bigger names make quite a lot of money on YouTube. Lots of views, lots of subscribers.
Yeah.
But they also tend to supplement their income with suing the police semi-regularly for being arrested and detained unlawfully. And yeah, a lot of them make thousands just on that on the side as well. Now,
what a life.
Well, yeah.
Where do I sign up? I'll go and harass people 5 days a week and then sue the police in his spare time.
But this is the thing.
What a career.
Again, I'll
all for the clicks.
It's you have to caveat that though with they are operating within the law. They are not doing anything wrong. As irritating as it might be,
oh, no.
they're not doing anything wrong. And all they point out is,
it's just
isn't it weird? Maybe. Isn't it weird though that the police and just citizens just knocking around have these weird ideas and just try and enforce them and try and they try and educate people on these things that they don't know anything about. So this is why, as Matthew said, it sometimes you can feel a bit dirty watching them, but they are very entertaining, especially when it kicks off. And yeah, obviously having been moved on or people trying to move us on many times.
What are they called, auditors then? Why is it that term?
Because I think it sounds better than snoops, sneaks, agitators.
And auditing your...
It's
property.
weird because if they're not approached, they'll kind of... We'll talk about drones a bit more now as well. They will... Usually with the drone, they'll kind of look at... Because it's usually industrial or commercial sites.
Well, you hear them on the videos. They just say things like, "Oh, I'm just like having a look across the site and just seeing what the building's like. I'm just interested." Yeah.
Yeah, they'll point out. Do they have solar panels? Do they have electric car charging points? Is the site tidy and safe? Are the bins overflown? So that's the kind of auditing side of it where uninvited, they're kind of assessing.
It's all bullshit though, because they're deciding that they're going to audit a site, and then I assume that they're not then going and delivering a report. Oh, here's your free audit report.
No, you're wrong. They do offer it, but obviously most people tell them to.
Yeah, where to shove it.
Yeah,
where to roll it up and insert it.
So the drone side of things.
Do they charge for the reports? Is that the final?
No.
It's like, oh, by the way, there's
All
your
free.
report. That'll be £300.
All part of the service, all free. So the drone side of it, obviously, again, I've just mentioned that people having a camera in their pocket is relatively new to society, but drones is a even more misunderstood part of this. And usually, quite a lot of the ones I've seen, when the auditor's having what they call a bad or negative engagement, and they can see, you know, the people in the building. So Mark Runke's come out and he's not happy, and he's not letting up, and they think, right, I'm going to escalate this a bit further. And I'm going to say, well, you know, I'm just about to do my drone flight. And they get the drone out of the bag, and as soon as these people see the drone, whoa, well, you can't do private property, you know, you can't fly a drone over our site. Right, so here's the rules around drones, and again, I'm just talking about commercial properties here, different if it's your house. So if I'm flying a drone, I'm looking through your bedroom window, I'm getting arrested for that. So with commercial properties, though, it's different.
So see for what's going on inside the bedroom.
So a good auditor will always go through the process of, they'll show you them using an app called Drone Assist. Drone Assist is the CAA's accessible map of the UK that shows you no-fly zones. So that includes temporary ones as well.
From what we saw last week, it includes all of London.
Yeah.
It also includes who to contact at local airports if you're close to an airport and you need to speak to air traffic control to actually get permission to do a flight, and they'll give you a window and stuff like that. But most of the UK, there are no restrictions on flying at all. So they will check that, so they do the due diligence before the drone goes up. So what they're doing there is they're proving, I'm allowed to fly a drone here. Almost without exception, they're flying a mini drone. So a mini drone will be under 250 grams, which means, I think technically it's classed as a toy, but obviously it's so lightweight, it's classed as not a big risk to the public or anyone. If something bad happened, it crashed or it fell out the sky. So if it hit you or it fell on the road or fell on whatever, it's obviously not as big of a risk as one of the bigger drones. And obviously some of the professional ones are huge, they're like mini helicopters. So the rules are different for these mini ones. The mini ones don't have the restrictions on how close they can get to buildings, they can fly over roads and railway lines, and no problem at all flying over your commercial property. Even though it's private property, the airspace isn't your property. So you don't have any right to stop anyone flying over your commercial property. So it's pointless even trying to argue that fact. The auditors usually have an operator ID, so they've followed all the rules. They've got an operator ID on the drone, so that means if it does come down and say it lands on someone's car in your car park, the ID links to them, they'll be insured, so their insurance will cover any damage or any problems they'll have. You never really see problems like that with these drones now. They're all very safe and have all these different anti-collision systems and stuff, automatic return to home, so don't really suffer from these problems anyway.
It's like impossible to fly them into a tree now, isn't it?
Yep, nearly. But people really don't like drones flying around. And again, we'll start to kind of come up with different rules and pretend that they know what the laws are, and it just gets a little bit embarrassing when you kind of hear it. So
I've got a question for you. Things have changed since I first started using the drones and don't use them now. But obviously the weights have changed, the drones have changed, the rules have changed. You could fly them. You couldn't fly them over roads. You couldn't fly them if there were certain numbers of people.
Yeah.
But to use the video footage, you have to have a license. You have to have that permission. So my first question would be to an auditor with a drone: have you got a license? And if they said no, I would say, well, everything that you've got here you can't use. You cannot use this footage for put it on the internet or anything, it's null and void because you haven't got the license.
Yeah, you'd be wrong, unfortunately.
Oh, has that changed as well?
Yeah. Well, basically, I think some of them do have licenses anyway.
Yeah.
But when people ask them, they never answer, because that's the other thing. You approaching them, they don't have to answer any questions you have anyway, so they don't have to even tell you. So you say, have you got a license? I don't have to tell you that.
Oh, that's okay. I'll ring the police then. I'll just check that you've given me your number, you've got permission to fly. I'll ring them, make sure they've got notification. And if then they say they haven't got notification, then that's another little...
Well, the police won't have a clue what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The police are going to turn up there and...
No. To ring... From my experience of registering to fly in a space, getting in touch with air traffic control, informing the police, and there was always very grateful that I'd let them know that I was flying there, because not many people did it. So that would, because I know a little bit about drone flying, that's what I would do.
Mm-hmm.
But
but your intentions are pretty much the exact opposite of these guys.
Yeah, I would say
you are looking for a quiet time, and to just be able to get on with what you're doing. They want to see what people's reactions are to this just naturally, so they don't have to inform the police, they don't have to inform the people that they're flying over, so they don't, because they want them to kind of see it and have a natural reaction to it.
Also, the question of commercial use I think is interesting, because in your example, someone's hired you to make a thing, they're paying you a set amount of money to do it. What you're filming is for commercial use. These people make money off YouTube advertising revenue, but I would argue technically it's not commercial use, because
it's classed as a hobby.
Yeah. Well, anything that it used to be, anything that you filmed, you can go out and get a drone and fly it wherever you want. But if you're filming it and you're going to use it, whether it's for a charity, that's not going to get you're not going to get paid for it, or if it is for something that you're going to get paid for. It used to be you needed a license. That was it. If it was going to be used online for any reason, you needed a license.
That's definitely different now.
So if they're just going up and filming stuff to get a reaction to put it online, then they used to need to have a license. So permission for commercial operation is what you needed.
Yeah, again, this is definitely what I'm referring to here is a mini drone.
Yeah.
So they're usually 249 grams. So the rules are very different, and I think a lot more lax than they were at the start. So I think the law's kind of caught up with, and the mini drone market's huge now.
Yeah,
really, really big. Obviously, a lot of hobbyists just like flying them around, and now obviously all the safety systems are just a lot better than they were, on the kind of Gen 1 drones. So yeah, the even though they're putting it on YouTube, you put it on YouTube, you're not guaranteed to make any money, so it's not technically commercial. Yeah. No one's commissioned you to go and film. You're just doing it because I just like looking in bins in commercial properties, and I want to see the solar panels. Look, a month later I've made 10 grand from all the ads that it's run, and I've got 2 million views. So yeah, it's again the police turning up and telling them what's what doesn't go well usually either, and eventually the police will either arrest them and they'll end up getting sued, or they'll get a little radio call from the sergeant that says, leave them alone. So
a radio call says, he's making a prick out of you.
Well, as they call it, the walk of shame, when the police say all this stuff and end up having to leave with their tails between their legs because...
Yeah, until the police wait around the corner to follow him home and get him for speeding.
I've seen that before as well.
I'll bet.
Well, they're very careful. They'll not park close by to where you are either. They'll usually park miles away and ride a bike.
Hopefully not in a private car park.
So there's no way of running a number plate even for the police to check who they are.
Just go to their YouTube channel, find them that way.
Well, that's the other thing. If you ask them what their YouTube channel is, if you've been pleasant and helpful, they'll tell you.
Uh-huh.
If you've not been that, they won't tell you, because of course the other thing is there's one thing filming someone in public, but then if you do find yourself on YouTube and you look like a bit of a prat, you can go to YouTube and say, I've got a problem with that, and potentially get it taken down, and then it kind of gets into a wrangle like that as well. But and YouTube,
What's the basis
doesn't
of that
doesn't
rule?
have to follow. Well, the person. Well, let's say. Like, I know you didn't answer this, Mark, but let's say Mark went out and had a right go at this guy that's filming.
I just
to
mean
the fence.
specifically if you get in touch with YouTube about any video and say there's a video that I'm in and I don't want to be in it, surely
It would get
YouTube
reviewed. Gets reviewed.
at that basic level. It's not, you're not saying like there's a safeguarding issue. It's just literally just I'm appearing in a video I don't want to appear in.
Well, I'll give you an example. If Mark had, well, I think it's more. If the person can make the case, I'm getting harassed now because people are watching this video and they know who I am because they know what area I live in, they know where I work.
They know the hut that I guard the gate in all day.
I'm actually getting harassment from like some of the viewers. Then you could say, well, is that right? You know, so YouTube review it, and obviously YouTube, it's a private platform, so they don't have to follow the law. They have their own guidelines and policies, so it's up to them. So sometimes you do see re-uploads where people's faces are blurred and stuff. But again, I think if you can avoid that, you want to just avoid that completely, and just try and get it right on the initial kind of approach. Try and be boring enough that you never even get on a video in the first place. Any other questions before I go on to my nuclear option on how to deal with an auditor?
No.
Is how popular are these auditors then on YouTube? They're obviously popular enough to make quite a bit of money.
I would say there's two that probably, I'm not sure what the subscribers are these days, but get over 1 million views.
Per
Just
video.
UK ones, yeah. The American ones are slightly different. I was talking to you about this, wasn't I? So obviously the American laws are a bit different. So usually the American ones are to do with, we'll call them like the First Amendment audits and stuff like that, where it's usually more to do with government overreach, where people will go into a federal building with a camera and they'll usually get like people try and chase them out, but then they'll be talking about the Constitution and stuff and saying, well, I've got a right to be here. You know, based on
I'm
what
a
the
freeman of the
forefathers
land.
Yeah.
said. So they're a bit different. The
Also, a lot more chance of getting shot, I imagine.
the British ones tend to follow kind of the pattern I've just said, and
Yeah.
the biggest ones probably DJ Audits. There's another guy called DJ Audits. He's got quite a funny one. He took on a second-hand car dealership somewhere in the northwest, and ended up getting it was like a scene in Terminator 2, getting chased through a factory and over train lines and stuff by these guys in a couple of Range Rovers and some like lead pipes and stuff.
So in that instance, did he then try and get them arrested?
He rang the police.
Because he actually had a right to, by the sounds of it.
Well, it looked like they were going to kill him.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was. It was. I'll send you the link to that one.
Bloody hell.
There's another guy called Auditing Britain. He's quite funny. He just kind of walks around town centres and manages to find trouble.
I'd like to make a complaint, please.
That's the
problem.
He walks around.
That's the fundamental problem. All these people that make these videos are just the personification of that.
Well,
sentence.
he goes around the country. He was in Newcastle at some point last year.
I've come to do a proper Geordie
I
audit.
don't think he was getting very far. So he ended up eventually just starts walking in job centres and stuff. And obviously the private security will just be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So yeah, they'll sniff out trouble eventually. But yeah, no, to answer your question, very popular. It's still a niche thing, but very popular. And it's some of the bigger ones, when they're doing what they do, the odd time you'll hear someone background go, hey, you know, DJ. And he's like, oh yeah, there's a key ring. You know, there's one of the fans. So they get recognised, even though they're going around with bloody face masks on.
He's
and
filming
stuff.
like that. He just puts his hand out. Just kiss the ring. It's fine.
He's like, oh, I recognise the blue joggers and the orange bike. It's
Is it
that.
Is it like a worldwide like craze?
So what now?
A worldwide craze.
It's still
Craze?
niche. It's still niche.
Is it like because of our laws type of thing, or is there other countries that are like really locked down? Dare I say, like places like China?
Well, I wouldn't do it in China. I think in China they would just chuck it in prison.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically it's.
I know
I
my
suppose-
rights.
I suppose
Null and
it's,
void.
Yeah, you don't have any. Yeah.
In you go.
it's testing the limits of a free country. I would say is what we're doing.
Interesting.
How far can you push the civilized societies? Which is why, like I said, they're entertaining. These guys are not breaking the law. but bloody hell,
But I
sometimes you
really
think-
wouldn't want to be stuck having a conversation with them.
So, like I said, the way they make the money is through views on YouTube. So obviously, if enough people watch your content, you get paid per ad that's served up. So you need a lot of views to make money from it. But a lot of these guys are, if not full-time, very close to full-time doing this and probably making quite good money. And, they tend to just, they'll just do a day where they just walk around an industrial estate and hit like 12 places in a kind of walking distance.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 12 videos made.
Hopefully 12 Barneys.
However, because they rely on these platforms to pay them, there's a way to kind of kill that for them. Because one thing these platforms don't like is copyrighted materials. So my dirty tactic, Mark, if you don't want them around you, or you basically want to make the video unusable on YouTube, is play
Pull
some...
your pants down as soon as you approach them.
Shuffling towards for a hug.
Pixelate this.
never thought of that. Yeah, get the biggest speaker you can get your hands on and play some music.
Really?
Some popular copyrighted music.
Okay.
Because YouTube has been very clever for a lot of years, and it scans videos when it's processing your video, and if it finds copyright material, then that means you can't monetize it for you. It means that the any revenue generated would go to the copyright owners of that music. So if you just blast music, then they can't use the audio on the video, which pretty much makes it useless. So
if I held some product placement in the shot,
just blur that out.
Yeah, you want to just kill the audio.
Music.
Just go out with
because
Bluetooth speaker
even
on.
if you're then arguing with them over the audio, I think even in that case, it's still good enough that it would detect the song, wouldn't it? You'd have to really obfuscate the audio for YouTube not to pick it up.
Yeah, you can't get past that one. So I think I would do what I said first of all, though. Nice polite approach. Just ask questions, like you said. Once you're confident, this isn't someone casing the place out. So once you're comfortable, I think this is an auditor. Just let them get on with it, basically. So crack on.
Once you've assessed them, dressed head to toe in black with a balaclava and a bright orange push bike next to them, I think this is an auditor. Yeah.
Yeah. So that I think covers everything we're going to talk about. This. Any questions?
So basically, after this airs, and the next day we come into work and there's 60 people stood around the perimeter.
I
think you might be overestimating the size of our audience. we wish for for an audience the size of an auditor.
But basically, just sit tight, don't do anything, or play music. Really,
just send Kerry down to interview each one of them individually, find out what they're doing.
Just
and
stand
why.
behind me, Mark. But to be honest, I'd
stand
probably
behind him, holding up a speaker, playing Michael Jackson,
pushing him forward.
To be honest, I'd probably be out there trying to get key rings and autographs. So yeah. Thanks for watching this one. Hope that was useful, insightful to somebody out there.
Different, innit? Bit different.
Please give the video a like, subscribe if you're an auditor, drop a comment, come and see her. NE8 3DF. We're here anytime you want.
Order your little heart out.
And we'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Cheers.